Okay, this is your 1-7 homework. So first thing we want to do is, do we have out these? Everybody has them? Yes. Thank you, Trinity. Are you flirting with her? Okay, stop. Okay, I need your notes out for it, and I also need the worksheet out. So the number R of U.S. radio stations for selected years from 1970 through 2000 is shown in the table. So first of all, what am I talking about so far? What are my two subjects? Year and stations. So letter A, do not, I repeat, do not go straight to the calculator and start entering in data. You have to read letter A. Letter A says complete a scatter plot on your calculator of the above information letting t equal 0 for the year 1970. What's important information right there? T equals 0 is what's important. You guys have got to have that. I mean, this is what's important. Like, not that you all can see that very big, but it's okay. You got it on your paper. So 1970 is what? 0. What's 1975? 1980? Well, isn't that wonderful? Now, do we all understand that? So, it says complete a scatter plot. So we're going to go over here to your calculator. And what are we going to do? You want a new document? No, you do not want to save the unsaved document. And what do I want? Lists and spreadsheets. So you want to click on letter A. You must be on letter A. And what will you label letter A to be? Your year. Hit enter. And click on column B. Stations. Spelling it correctly is also a good idea. Now, hit enter again. Now, what did I tell you guys on Friday about the equal sign row? Don't use it because that is used for what? Formulas. Formulas. It's used for formulas, and we're not going to utilize anything in there. Okay? So I need to be in column A, row 1. And I need to start entering in the data that is on your worksheet. So I'm going to start at 0, 5, 10, 15, 20 to 35, going by 5s. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Now, how do I go all the way to the top of my data? Control 7 takes me to the top. What takes me back to the bottom? Control 1. Control 7 top, Control 1 bottom. So Control 7 puts me to the top of my data. And now I'm going to go ahead and in row 1, column B, what am I going to start entering in? 6760. Now, I didn't click in mine, so it didn't even activate. So make sure you're activated. Biggest mistake. You have got to hit enter when you're done, because if you don't and you try to graph this, what's the error that's going to come up? Dimension mismatch. So make sure you've hit enter or arrow down and you can see all your data there. So I'm going to Control 7. Why am I Control 7? I need to go back to the top. Do not, I repeat, do not leave this page until you check your data that you entered it in correctly. Because if you don't enter in your data correctly, is your equation going to be right? No, so your data must be right. So just eyeball your data and make sure it's correct before you move on. Okay, now, the part A says to create a scatter plot. Did I do that yet? No, all I've done is put my information in my lists and spreadsheets, correct? So from here, what I need to do is go ahead and graph a scatter plot. So what am I going to do? I'm going to Control Doc, and what page am I going to add? I want to add a graphs page. Now, what does this F1 mean? Function. What am I trying to graph? A scatter plot. Mitch, sit up, please. Thank you. So I'm going to hit Menu. And what am I going to do? Graph entry. And I want to have a scatter plot. The S1 indicates scatter plot. From here, what do I label my X to represent? I type in year. And as soon as I hit the R, did you notice it bolded that? Without that R, it doesn't bold it. The bolding indicates that I have chosen a value from an X list. Yes. On your sheet, I'm at number 7. I'm at number 7 in the first set of instructions. Okay? So I'm going to arrow down, and what do I label Y to be? Now, I put stations, plural. If you put station, that's fine, just whatever you labeled yours. Now, biggest mistake my students do here is, and I don't know if it's because you all don't, I didn't put it on here, I just assumed. So number 7, go ahead and say and hit enter. I didn't type that in there. I kind of made the assumption you all would know to hit enter. So I apologize, but you have to hit enter. Okay? So hit enter. I can't see it. It doesn't look like it did anything, Mrs. Yoder. It did something. I can't see it. So how do I see it? Menu, window zoom, zoom data. Not zoom fit, zoom data. Okay? It is close to the same thing, but if I have my equation on there, it's going to fit my equation and not my data. Okay? So now, letter A. The question says on letter A, it says, does the graph of the information appear to be linear? Yes, it does. So write in there, yes. By looking at the scatter plot, what type of correlation does this information have? It has a positive. How do I know that it's a positive correlation? Because it's going uphill. The data is going uphill. If I were to draw a line there, it would have a positive what? Slope. Very good. Find the linear regression equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. So I'm at now step number 9 on my steps. Yes? So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to add a new page. So Control Doc, and I need to add a calculator page. So if I add a calculator page, I need to do some calculations. If I hit Menu, and I examine what I'm given, what do you think I need to do? Statistics, because I have data. And now I need to do stat calculations, and mx plus b is what I'm going to use. You could use either. You could use a plus bx or mx plus b, but I prefer you to stick with what you know, which is mx plus b. Now, the x list, if I arrow down or start typing in whatever you want to do, I want that to be year. And then my y list, I'm choosing stations. And what does this save reg equation to mean? It's going to save your linear regression model in the very first available spot that I have in my function area. Does that make sense? So I'm going to choose F1 because that's where I'm at. Now there's some things you need to write down. I want you to write down M and B. So my M is 209.571. So I'm going to put it over here. M equals 209.57. Someone help me out. 0.257. And then my B value is what? Okay. So then my actual equation, notice I wrote down M and I wrote down B. Okay, do we see that? Now my physical equation is going to be y is equal to 209.257x plus 6733.86. That's the equation that you need to write down. That means you probably, if your M is different, then you keyed something in incorrectly in your list. What is different about it? Is it a rounding issue? No, your lists have to be different. I mean, there's no possible way. Look, you skipped 30. Okay, now, are we listening? Part D says, what is the value of R? So if I come back over here, R is what I'm looking for. R is 0.994 I want you to round to the 10,000ths place. So it's going to be 0.9945. So my R value, do you need me? Oh, okay. Now, according to the R value, what type of correlation do you have? Now, on Friday, I didn't get to talk about this, so listen up. The closer your R value is to the value 1, when if the slope is negative, -1, the more accurate your line that you're coming up with is going to be. So is 0.9945 very close to 1? This is going to be very accurate because it's close to 1. Do we understand that? Now, part A is where we're going to get into some things that you don't like. Part A is, or the next part is going to be interpret the slope. Get that off AutoHUD. I'm getting there. Very accurate because close to 1. What were you laughing about? Okay. Are we good? I totally missed something. Okay, it says to interpret the slope. Well, how do I interpret the slope? What is slope? $209 point. Okay, that's the equation. Now, if I'm interpreting my slope, this value right here is going to be my slope. I just love when things work well for me. I know my board's off. I need to like align it, but. So here's this slope right here. So if my slope is 209.57, slope is understood to be what? The change in y over the change in x, which is considered to be your rise over your run. Okay? Now, I'm going to be very mad. It says interpret using words. If you just write down math terms, I'm going to be mad. I want an English sentence, a complete sentence. In English, not in any other language because I can't read any other language. In English. No, you may not. So my slope is 209.257 over 1. That is going to be interpreted to be what? What is x and what is y here? Y is understood to be what? No, in our story problem, what is y? So that's the change in my stations over the change in the year. So what does this say? Every year, we add 209 stations. Why am I leaving off the 0.257? Because I can't add a part of a station. I am either adding the whole station or I'm not adding any of it. Come on, Mitch. Okay? I expect to see a sentence here. This is what's important. You have got to make sure that you are able to understand in the story problem what that slope means. Do we get that? Okay, so that's what I expect to see on letter E. So every year, okay, part F. Part F is talking about the y-intercept. Well, y-intercept is actually going to be the point 0b. And in this case, it's 0, comma what? Okay, that's what I have. Well, this is an ordered pair, correct? More importantly, it's x, comma y. More importantly, x is in a year, hold that thought, and y is a station. And what does 0 represent according to my statistical data at the beginning? It represents year 1970, and then my y value is 6733.86. So what would this mean? You have to write that out. In 1970, there were 6,733 stations. Now, the 0.86, again, it's not a whole number, but it should tell you that we're working on a building currently. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, we're going to talk about that here in a moment, okay? Now, with that said, let's go back to what our questions were. Then it says, what is the prediction for the number of radio stations in 2015? Okay, this is the part where everybody gets confused on too. I think I just deleted a page by accident. Okay, so 0 represents 1970. Would you all agree with me? Okay, if I add 30 years to that, that means 30 represents what year? 2000. If I add 16 years to that, that means I'm going to be in 2016, correct? What we're doing, 2000 what year? My bad. Add 15. So that means I'm going to be at 45 is equal to year 2015. Do we see that? Okay. Now, what this means is I want to know in 2015 how many stations we had. There are 2 ways you can do this, and I'm going to show you both ways. So I need you to go back to your calculator page. Where did we save this? Currently, we're on a calculator page. We're in a calculator page right now. If you do F1, I don't know if I can see that there. There we go. F1 parenthesis 45 and hit enter. It's going to give you 16,150.429 stations. Now, do I want any of the decimal? No. So how many stations am I going to have in 2015? 16,150 stations. Now, with that said, the next thing you need to ask yourself is, what's the other way I could do this? Well, I have yet to graph my line, haven't I? If I go back to my graphs page right now on 1.2, what do you see on page 1.2 in your lovely calculator? You only see the scatter plot. You have yet to graph your equation. I want you to graph your equation because you can't do anything with this until you graph your equation. So how do I graph it? Menu, no. Graph entry. And now what do I want? A function. I want to graph my function. So how do I graph it? I already have it stored there. The problem is I never activated it. So I arrow up and I hit enter, and now I see it. Now, if I wanted you to evaluate at many different years, you could do it on the calculator page, or you could hit Control-T on a graphs page. Control-T on a graphs page is going to give you your table feature, and it's going to give you every year that you're talking about. For example, what is 1 corresponding to? What does 1 correspond to in your day? No. What does 1 correspond to? What year? 1971. So in 1971, which we don't have any statistical data for, do we have any statistical data for 1971? No, but we can use our linear regression line to fill in those holes. So in 1971, I had 6,943 stations if I use the data to get the best line of fit. Now, if I scroll down here to 45, la, 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 la. Okay, at 45, I'm at 16,150.4 stations. Do we see that? Which means I can get this 2 ways. I can get it using the calculator page, or I can get it using the graphs page with Control-T. Do we all understand that? Now, so we did this by doing F1 at 45, and it gave us 16,150. You can also do it by doing Control-T on the graphs page. Now, the next thing it wants you to do is, in what year will there be 16,221 stations? I cannot use your calculator page for that. Do we understand that? I have to use my graph page. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to your graphs page, and on your graphs page, you are going to be in your table. And you are going to look for the number of being at least 16,221. It has to be at least 16,221. So at 45, I'm at 16,150. At 46, I'm at 16,359. So I have to be at 46. Well, what does 46 represent in my years? Very good. So if I add 1, I get 46 is equal to 2016. So in 2016, there were at least 16,221 stations. Do you see the important words "at least" there? I just need your brain to understand that. Does that make sense? You just have to write the year, but I need your brain to understand why. How did I use that? I found that by doing Control-T, yes, on the graphs page. Okay, now the last question, which is what Wesley talked about here, is compare the data to the equation in the list. What's going on? He said, well, in 1970, I had 6,760. What I want you to do is I want you to make another chart. If you want to add it down here, like you can just add another row. Pay attention to me, don't talk. You can add another row and put compare. Do you see what I'm saying? Or you can write a whole new table down there, whatever suits your fancy. Okay? And what I want you to do is I want you to go back to your table. It wasn't that funny. Now, look where I'm at right now. I'm at 46. Let's make life really easy for you. Your table starts where? 0, and what does it go by? It go by 5. So everybody with their table showing, does everybody have their table showing on their graphs page? If your table is not showing on your graphs page, hit Control-T. Is everybody there? Now I want you to hit Menu. And then I want you to hit Table. And we're going to edit table settings. And it's going to say, well, where do you want this table to start at? Where do we want it to start at? We want it to start at 0 and hit Tab. And how do we want it to go by? We want it to go by units of 5. So my steps are going to be 5. And we're going to hit OK. So what we just did is we made, oh, stop. My calculator has a mind of its own sometimes. So what I want you guys to do is to write at 1970, which is 0, write down 6733.85. At 1975, write down 7780. 80, 8826. 85, 9872.71. You don't technically need the decimals. And why do you not need the decimals? Because it's not a whole station, so therefore we really don't need the decimals. What you're comparing is the statistical data to the actual data that you have there. The linear regression line that you're writing there is going to be slightly above or under. For example, for the first one, it's going to be slightly under. For the second point, it's going to be slightly above. For the third point, it's going to be slightly above. And you can see it there, can't you, compared to the graph. For the fourth point, it's going to be very much below. But for all the other ones, it's going to be very similar to the number of stations that you have. Do we all understand that? Yes? Yes, that is okay. And you can just say see above or draw your arrow, whatever that makes you happy. Okay, do we understand that, yes or no? Now, for the other two problems, you guys are on your own. If for any reason I am not here tomorrow, you have Math Excel. Finish this up and you have Math Excel. I don't know. Look at the due date. I would like you need to finish it today and tomorrow. So you have the rest of the period to work on 1-7 worksheet. There's only 2 problems, so speed it along and get busy. If you need my stuff, my calculators outside of class today, you're more than welcome to come and borrow them. Please let me know that you're taking them. I will not be here, so tell the sub. Okay?